And you've just heard Will to Live by Sarya and Rufus. And I'm delighted to be joined by both of them now. Hello, Sarya and Ben. How are you doing?
Good.
Yeah, I'm great, thanks.
So first of all, Sarya, what can you tell us about Will to Live?
So Will to Live was inspired by many things, but it was mostly inspired by just kind of seeing how people were reacting to being in isolation and not having maybe as much support systems as they were used to, and like seeing a lot of my friends and people close to me really have like suffering with their mental health. And I think, you know, as someone who maybe also struggled, but definitely doesn't have not battling depression actively on a regular basis, I think having to, you know, being like these people's like main source of, you know, emotional support or whatever, you see them and you absorb like what they're feeling, and you can't help but feel really helpless and desperate to like want to help, but you know that it's a personal struggle, and there's a limit to what you can do for someone else. I think just watching all of these people who I really love kind of go through these things, and you know, being very much like I wish so much that I could do something for you, but I really can't. And you know, when you try to, you know, talk to them and give them like a pep talk about anything, you just feel like your words become really empty, because obviously if it was that easy to just convince them, they wouldn't be feeling the way that they do. So it was just kind of like inspired by those feelings.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. You know, the line, "I cannot give you a will to live," is one I think will resonate with a lot of people. Unfortunately, I think it'll resonate with a lot of people. And I think that idea of talking, people are often said, make sure you find someone to talk to, but it's the decision's got to come from the person themselves. And I think that's what your song kind of captures.
Yeah, and I think it's like, I was talking to Ben about this earlier, but it's just kind of like, I think you can get really enraptured in your own, you know, suffering and pain, and I think a lot of the times it will take, you know, knowing that the way that you're feeling does affect other people too, and maybe that is, you know, not the most sensitive way to put it, but it's like sometimes it can snap people back to reality, to be like, there are other things to be thinking about. There are other people to be worried about. You can feel really like alone and feel really hopeless, but then to be reminded that there are these people and they do really deeply care about you. It is like a very important reminder to give people. And I think that's kind of what I wanted to convey with this song when I was writing it.
And I mean, this isn't the first time that you've collaborated together. How did it come around in the first place, and was this time different?
So this was during lockdown. Just hooked up with each other on Instagram. I had heard a few things that Sarya had done and was completely blown away at the amount of emotion that they could convey in so few words. Truly impressed by it. And, you know, I was like, cool, I have to get in on that action. There's no way that I can't ride this this train along with them. So yeah, we started sharing some files back and forth, found out we had a lot of sort of tastes in similar. So collaborating is really easy because we tend to like the same sort of sounds, same palette, same attitude. So I must admit that we said actually earlier before this call that we tend to work quite quickly because there's not too much back and forth. It's like, this is the sound I want, and then I'll go make some sort of what I interpret that to be and send it back, and it's usually okay.
I remember like last year around, like, you know, earlier this time, and I was writing 6075 I Miss You, and I had just finished it, and I was like, Ben, like, listen to this, like, what do you think? And he immediately was like, here's the ideas I have. And then probably like after a few days,
yeah,
the song was basically done. I
Yeah.
was like, I can't believe this. This is like crazy. I didn't expect this to be such a swift collaboration, but here we are. And I was like, a week later, I was like, should we release this? And it was good. And I think Will to Live had a very similar trajectory. So it was very lovely to be able to work with Ben again.
Absolutely. Before this interview, I looked back at my notes that I had for this project, and in my head, in memory, I thought this has taken us months and months to get together, because I know that we went through quite a lot of different iterations of the song that were vastly different. But looking at the dates, even with all those massive changes we made and different approaches, like we had one that was really distorted and gritty and upbeat and very energetic. We had one that was a piano and vocal version, and we have the track as it sort of is now. And that all happened within a month.
That's really interesting. It kind of goes on to my next question, which comes from a very non-musical person, which was, how did you decide the soundtrack that would fit these lyrics, these very kind of powerful lyrics? But you had various versions. Is that the kind of way you did it?
Absolutely. So on the demo track that Sarya sent me already had a lot of the emotion behind it. I must admit, my first attempt at sort of interpreting that, I sort of missed the mark. I took it too literally. Like, as Sarya's mentioned, it's an uncomfortable message, like, I cannot give you a will to live. And I interpreted that, and my first version was super dark, very aggressive and angsty. But then, I was sort of reminded not to just, take it verbatim, try and understand what the lyrics are trying to say. And then, it became very obvious that it was a lot more hopeful, a lot more honest than I was interpreting. So that's when the piano version came around, because the original demo that I was sent had piano as a backing. So we did that, and then we sort of settled on this one where it's very chilled out and hopeful, and it's relaxing. It's still a very tough message, but I think we've wrapped it around a sound which is actually very positive.
Like, I think it's nice that it's a little bit misleading. That I think if you weren't listening super carefully, you might think that it was a very like cheerful, calming tune, but it's actually, a very sentimental one. And I think it is, when I was writing it, I think I always have the intention where if I'm going to write about something quite, sad or has to do with mental health, it needs to kind of end in some kind of like, this will be okay kind of situation, because it's like, I cannot give you a will to live, but I'm also not going to like give up on like helping you and supporting you. And I think that was the main message of this song, really, is like, I cannot give you a will to live, but I will still continue to love and care for you and like, support you and try to help you when I can. And that is the perspective I think I have when it comes to like trying to get people through a tough time. It's not necessarily trying to like invalidate like their feelings or anything, but just being like, I'm not gonna like, just give up on, trying, and neither should they, right?
I think I like so many of my favorite pop songs. There's the kind of the music almost nourishes you and gets the important message across. It's not kind of it doesn't slap you around the face with what you're trying to say, and it can work on many kind of different levels. And I think with this, you've got something which is clearly very personal, but often the thing that resonates with other people the most is the intensely personal stuff.
Like I like there's the middle parts that are really like just truly like how I feel. The first is like, I wish I knew how to help you, like I'm a fool, I can barely help myself, but like I will try still, because like what else can we do? And I think at the time I was also in Scotland, I didn't have like familial support. The only people that I had were my friends, and if my friends were going through a hard time, that is just basically like your closest people around you, and you experience that loneliness, and you just know that like that we're all in the same boat. We have to rely on each other to get through this. And, you know, that was the only way that we were ever going to like get through it. So,
yeah, I mean, certainly when you're saying that people resonate with the personal, I mean, that's exactly what happened with me when I discovered Sarya's music. It was sort of that unbelievable familiarity I had with the sentiment that was in their music, that I think anything that I've heard from them since and anything that we've worked on, that is definitely something I come back to, is how personal and honest the lyrics are, and the sentiment behind the song is just incredible.
My next question is a bit of a cheeky one, because really I should be answering this myself, but I wanted to ask you how you would describe each other's music.
I mean, I've sang your praises. I hope you'll do the same for me.
So like, well, I think Ben is like multi-talented. So I think like as a person and also as like an artist, he like does a lot of stuff. So it's like kind of hard, because I feel like when I think of his music, I'm thinking, you know, like very, you know, classic melodies with like interesting twists that like range from like 8-bit to like you know, very like soft, soothing beats, you know, and because like he had also like started a business trying to sell like, you know, selling stems and stuff, there's a lot of versatility. It's really hard to like just pinpoint one thing, because he is just capable of doing so much. And he also works as like as a musician for weddings and stuff. So like he clearly is able to do so much. I think his brilliance as a producer is that like his work has so much finesse and detail, and it's like the kind that sounds effortless when you hear it. I'm listening to it, I'm like, this sounds so crisp, so clean, so simple, but so good. And then, you know, obviously when you take it apart, you're like, there's like a million things happening. And I was like, holy cow, there's so many different layers of instrumentals that when you're not really listening, you don't hear them. But when you take it apart, they're all there. And he was sending me the stems for the songs, and I'm like, oh my God, there's like 12 things for like the bass and the synths. And I was like, on my demo, there was like 2. So it's really nice to work with someone who is so like able to understand exactly what I want from the melody and the sound, but also just to be able to produce it so well. So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question, but I just think like I'm definitely, I have my strengths and I stick to them, but you know, there's people like Ben who can just pretty much stick themselves wherever they need to, and it works. So yeah.
Do you recognize yourself there, Ben, from that? I hope you do.
I do. I mean, I'll definitely say that certainly like that made me feel good. Thank you very much. That's my positive.
The positivity for the day. That's fantastic. And are you thinking of doing, now that live events are beginning to start up again, and I know, Sarya, you've done spoken word poetry in the past, are you thinking of doing live events? Have you maybe already done them?
Yes, so I am currently in Taiwan, and I've been here for a little bit because of certain complications, but I will come back to the UK at some point. But since COVID has hit here very differently, live music events have never really stopped here. So since I've been here, I've been able to perform. I had a gig last month, and it was really nice. A very different music scene, very not what I'm used to. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to performing more this year and have a lot of music to release for sure.
Excellent.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking forward to Sarya coming back. We've never actually met in person. It would be nice to actually hang out.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
I'm looking forward to the day when, because I was talking to Ben, I was like, Ben, when I come back to Scotland, would you be the guy behind the keyboard in the computer and like help me press buttons while I just like sing my little heart out? And he's like, yeah.
Very much looking forward to that day.
What a perfect way to meet on stage and then just go for it. That sounds
I
brilliant.
know, absolutely.
Rom-com.
What a show! I mean, yeah.
Yeah, the cute meet, is that what they call it? That's brilliant.
Yeah, it is a meet cute. Yeah, that would be such a cute one. The
It
meet
would
cute
be.
story.
Well, listen, both of you, thanks so much for taking the time to have a chat. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you for having us. It's an honor to be featured again, and I'm just really happy that you like the song and want to share it with people.
Oh,
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the support on the track.
No problem at all. And this is Sarya and Rufus and 6075, I Miss You.